Hello, I'm Angel Feliz. This is Data Science Learning Community. We are going to cover testing and validating template elements of the outstanding user interface with Shiny. When we talk about testing and validation, we are talking about different things. Validation, we use that word when we are validating the inputs of our functions. So that took me some time because I was using always testing for both. But no, when you get some inputs, you are validating, doesn't matter if it's a function or is the Shiny app itself or is a data pipeline. So you want to get really good resources, you need to use the word validation to look for it. And when you have those rules set up, you have a more uh, robust function, so people can know, and you and even yourself, make silly mistakes later. That's the point. Also, validation is really important when you are creating data pipelines. I use there is a validate, I think is the name of the package. Uh, I need to look up in R. In R. Yeah, clean. I love this package. I use it a lot in my data pipelines. I even did a tidy version of it, but this is the source. More just some look arounds and some wrappers that I did, but this is the base, and he's also the author of the string distance. I don't know you have used that before. String distance is another really cool package that help you
Yeah, I have.
to figure out with some elements, how close they are.
Yeah.
So he's also a really important R contributor. And the other part is testing. Testing is the second part. Okay, I have a function, but I expect to get some output or some result, maybe an error, maybe some warning, maybe the output inserts. And now you use validation. And the most common package for you for making that is the test that we use in package. Uh, and that's it. I haven't used any other. But in that point, okay, you have your template, you have your card, you are getting input from the user. You are getting some status, that is a test element, some width, and some padding. But those values have a specific value that you can get. You have a list or available status in the bootstrap. The width cannot be over 12 based on the grid. And also we have a list of, let me see the padding. I don't remember the rule for the padding, but here's the list of the status, primary, secondary, success. The point is, before you write all this, you are going to point to the user, this is an error, and the error is because of this case. So they start with the width. Okay, the width needs to be numeric. If not numeric, you will place a stop. It's not numeric. They also say that now we have a stop if. So in this case of the numeric, I will use a stop if not numeric, I will use in just one sentence, right? Like having a if, indented if. But at the moment was writing this book was not that option. And then if it's numeric, but it's not in between this range, you are going to apply this other message. In that case, now the user is aware that, okay, for is okay, so I don't need to specify anything. And this is a function for validating this because he said that this is something that is, how do you say that? You need to validate it in a lot of functions. So when you need to apply the same function over and over, you maybe place this function in the utilities R script in your package. Like, okay, and you place this function. Now you place -1, you will get an error. It's not between this range. And if you get over, also you get the error. If you place a string, you get a different error. And now you know that, your function is working as expected. We need to do something really similar with the status. We have a list of status. If null, you return true, and there's no any problem. If the status is under this list, you return true, so there's no problem. Otherwise, if you are if not null or have the valid status, then you need to place this error. Invalid status are these ones. Also for the padding, we have these options, and they are the only ones. So we are going to do something really similar to this one. In this case, he didn't return any value, just empty. But in that case, they just need to place this validate, and the work is done. Here that stop, wow, 1.4. So it was not even the 95 at that moment. Well, now we have, he said, okay, you will need, of course, to validate your type of the class that you are using, maybe the class insert, and they have an example function in the book package. So you can just copy and paste it in your package and you will have this functionality. You don't need to redo the wheel, basically. That's the point. He said, okay, you are creating this tag. It's a div, click over. It's a div class. And you say, hey, is this a list class? And say, no way, it's not. So it's an error. Also, tag matches is also available in the package, and it just returns true or false depending on the value. It's the same, just that this assert return error, and this just true and false. So depending how you want to do it, maybe this is more flexible. You want to add your own message, because this is a default message by the assert. Maybe you want to create your own and use this one. If it's not true, place this message. Also, Shiny has a CSS unit validation tool that you can perform. If it's something somebody plays some element that is not part of the CSS, it just show an error. This function is incredible to me. Like, I know that CSS can pick a lot of values, and creating myself a rule to have all the different valid ways is a little bit tricky. So it's really good to know that they have a function for making those validations. And also, they say that we need to care about jQuery. We need to avoid that people use names that can affect the behavior of the app. And they place this example. And they use this function, validate tab name. And to me was a little bit tricky to understand this regular expression, because basically you are going to pick any point, but you are going to subtract from the point the underscore. That's what you mean with these two symbols in the parentheses. So the only key part is this one. Okay, you are going to select any point, punctuation mark. Yes, that punch is punctuation mark. Any punctuation mark, but removing the underscore. And to have this label working, you need to set spell option. It gets a really similar behavior like a string hard. I need to look up a little bit to understand that part, but basically the grep function was really similar to a string detect or a string R when you said per equal true. because I know that with this perp, this punch doesn't work in base R. Sometimes I was like, oh, I need to use this punch, these bot sets, and I was just importing a string R just for getting that, and now I know that you can get it with perp with adding that dependency. And now you can test, oh, pop is a valid name, perfect. Percentage is not valid, but underscore should be. I don't remember. They didn't place, but if you place underscore, it won't show an error. Now they say, okay, now we need also to validate if people are selecting many options at the same time. Because if you see here, this example, you have the navigation menu, but you can place input and maybe by accident place select yes and select yes in both cases. And they just develop this function to get everything under the list. Is use the function children. No, look out for the children inside, like under the bracket, and then every element that have this attribute, not bar active. And then if the total of the sum is bigger than 1, is because you have more than one element active. And it will show an error. So that's the point of the validation part. You are going to have some inputs and you need to try to think what could go wrong and have some errors, basically, that point to the people, hey, you are making this mistake, please change this part. And now in the test part, we need to create unit test using test that. The point is to expect some results and validate those results and meant. So you are basically creating examples. If you are using tablet card with minus, you expect an error. If you set the width over 13, you also expect an error. If you set test, you expect an error, and that's the test. And the same for the status, this is not valid, the width is not valid, and all this is passing. And basically, somehow you omit this, you will get an error. Like, oh, this is not throwing an error, because you are not validating the width correctly. So that will help you basically for avoiding any error or changing behavior without noticing. The caveat is that you will need to, if you change something really that you want to change, or maybe in this case, the dependency changed its behavior, you will need to change your test. That was the case of Shiny Mobile when they used to list the number of dependencies, and it was two, like Bootstrap and malware, but then HTML2 changed, and now they were listed also part of dependency jQuery. And that was just breaking the test, and he just need to adjust the number, adjust the number in the expectation. And that's the point. When package are changing, the code is changing, and you also need to keep changing your test. Now we also need to test the JavaScript behavior. And they say, okay, maybe you are not going to have a full Shiny app running all the time, but you want sometimes to validate if this update function is making its job. Really will let you know you have a Shiny running really. And I was overthinking why people don't use get default reality domain inside the function, and this is a good proposition. Like now, it's an argument. I can use this argument to mock up the behavior. What he did is just to create an environment from a list. Identity is a function that just return the same file, the same value of UC. That's the only thing that does identity. And he also defined another method for send message. When you pass the type in the message, you are going to grab everything into a list, as we do here in the function, and save it in the last custom message in the session. That is not yet created. It will be created here, but as we are not running the function, we are just defining the function, you won't get any error. That's a little bit tricky, but that it works. You can just save it. And now if you get the session from this environment, you get the same value from this method, name and s, and from the custom message, now you get, you don't see anything, but you will see that the last custom message is saved with the information, has saved the information. So the function did its work. Now, when you run the function, of course, you need first to create the element session. Then you pass the session here, and with the same session object, you will see that it will have this message created, even though it was inside the function. That's because it's an independent environment. So sometimes the environment of the function, is deleted just after running the function. But when you create a separate environment, it keeps. And that's the response that you need to validate. They just, run it and validate that every input was picked correctly. It has the same structure. Now, if we have now we validate that we send the message. Part one. Now we need to receive the message, and we also need to validate that part. And this is the handler to manage this. And now that they use this package, but that I was checking that I tried to reproduce the chart there, but basically it's not possible. I think or at least in my computer I wasn't able to do it. This is the source code of the package, and I was like 5 years old. 5 years old, only issues. That means that nobody is using this. Nobody is using this. So even though they we can use Chrome and Chrome mode in R. Yeah, this I think our universe. Let's go to our universe. Oh, this is, I was looking for the web page. I saw it before. Let me go to the package, and then maybe the package will point me to the page. Yeah, basically. And they say that Chrome mode is the new version that everybody is using, is what is powering Shiny Test 2 also. But it say that it's an equivalent to that package that is old already. It's a, I got confused. It says this is a little bit, I didn't click over the link. Experimental, no publishing Chrome, yeah. No, basically everybody, 4 years ago, no worries. The only one that is in active development that you can place an issue, get some feedback, is this one. And yeah, basically it's sponsored by our studio, so it's a safe option. The point is that you need to first run some R script outside of your session to don't lose your console. That's the first step. You can use process ads, but I was checking the sample for shiny shiny test shiny test too, and they use Cohort. So is whatever is the you feel comfortable, you need to have some instance of our authoring app. I think is yeah, maybe this one. I think they use Cohort. Oh, I wasn't in this. Use the Cohort.
I think it's without underscore.
Without underscore,
Mm.
let me
Yeah, call
just.
or
Oh yeah, just there. Okay, I think yeah, yeah, perfect. It's the same. Like okay, we are going to call R to have a background R running on the demo. So the method is the same. The point is that the tools have been changed over time.
there's
And
also now Mirai. Mirai package is also now the author of the Mirai package is now working for Posit. So they are
yeah,
making changes with Mirai.
yeah, I know that Plumber 2
Yeah.
was yeah, was revealed just oh this is not Plumber. I cannot believe that people use that name for other things. Yeah, Plumber, they just created a oh it's not even yet in Cram. I thought that was in Cram already.
Yeah, there is a talk about Plumber 2 in the user conference. It's in
Mhm.
August. So like 1 month from now. So there will be a
Yeah.
good talk. I think then they will probably talk about it more.
You know, I know that the biggest issue of Plumber was that you cannot get uh, queries at the same time. So I was just one. You need to wait for one response to get another one.
Mm.
And that's why people say that art couldn't scale. So Mirai is basically the miracle of okay, now we can have more high demand we got. That I know that we are going to get a lot of changes and that part of where are is amazing. Like we have been getting a lot of tools in these years. Find Chrome, get some port. Now you have a client session because that was for the server. You have the server running, perfect. Now you need some client and it will show some shiny app. Then just write. They send this from this JavaScript code. To me, that would be like writing in the console, like sending this JavaScript, and they get the output. And after getting that, they they will check if the value was set. And this time is because I asked ChatGPT about it. First, integer in JavaScript, they can get the integer in binary, hexadecimal, and you need to specify that you are the decimal numbers are the ones that we understand. So basically, the return of this function would be the 50, and you will get it in a JSON, and now you will get bar result value 50, and now it should be okay. Because you set it using JavaScript. Uh, they do it using JavaScript, but tests that also have option to set those clicks. Like oh, set this bar to this bar, this number. Yeah, this validation you can do it without writing JavaScript, basically. At that moment was not possible, but now we can do it. And now you get a different numbers, but equal it will fail. And they just stop the browser. And yeah, the other example is almost the same, but they did a more complicated example using more jQuery. So the same principle. You run, and I would like also to, I know that to run those kind of example in my computer, I would need to a little bit of work because I'm running out from a container, but the container doesn't have access to Chrome. You cannot operate. You won't. I won't be able to make this. Hello, my sorry. I lost internet connection.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what happened.
Yeah, it was like, okay, now we are here. But basically, we end the chapter. Just it was too abrupt. But basically, they use a lot of jQuery. But to make those the same test, you don't need to know as much jQuery used to do it. Test to test that. And I was explaining that setting the environment could be the hardest part because you need to connect some Chrome binary to run it. And I know that I went to a conference of the Chinese conference that and they was talking about it was Cypress because the problem with test that when you need to validate your inputs, it depends on the browser you are and maybe your computer. So you are validating a screenshot, you can just do in one computer. That's it. But this JavaScript framework, they included as part of the the Rhino framework, and you can just automatic validate more things basically with JavaScript. It's a JavaScript framework, so everything that whatever you won't go ahead go away of JavaScript. You will need to write more JavaScript to meet the validation, but they are better.
Right.
Whatever, I think that whatever validation we do is better than no validation. So
Mhm.
whatever option you prefer, you can start using, test two, Shiny test two, test that, and whatever we do is better. We just trying to get more of the logic as possible.
And this is so this chapter is actually applicable to only validating the templates that we are creating, right? But we also have like validation and testing outside of it, just for the app that we are making, other
And
than
the
the
logic,
template.
exactly. Also,
Mhm.
sometimes you are getting some new values that you were not expecting, and yeah, and so for us, it's more important the results. Like, okay, this result is accurate. The point is ugly for some reason, but yeah, or maybe I know that the errors that take place in the observe, just get down the whole app.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that also getting sure to don't break those parts is important.
All right.
So that's the end of this chat. Let me just stop.